Hey everyone, James Lynch here for odds.com, and here are some prop bets to keep an eye out for at UFC 251, which goes down this Saturday in Abu Dhabi. Let's start in the co-main event with featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski, who's currently a 2-1 favorite on Bet365. I like Volkanovski at that price, but I like him even better with the decision prop. You can get Volkanovski by decision right now for plus 100, and here's why I think that's a good bet here. First off, I think the fight's going to play out very similarly to the first fight, where Volkanovski is going to be a step ahead, but he's not going to threaten with a finish in the fight like we saw in the first fight at UFC 245. Holloway, pretty durable for the most part, only has one stoppage loss in his career, and that was way back in February of 2012 when he got submitted by Dustin Poirier in just his fourth pro fight. He was fighting Poirier at the time, who I think was 11-1. So huge experience difference as far as that fight goes. Holloway shown to be very durable, fought the who's who in the featherweight division, including Conor McGregor, Jose Aldo. I mean, here's a guy that has fought a lot of dangerous fighters, a lot of finishers, but has not been finished. And I don't see Volkanovski doing the same thing here. Volkanovski also only has 3 stoppage victories in 8 career fights in the UFC. One of those was against Chad Mendes, who's currently retired. The other 2 are against fighters who are no longer in the UFC right now, in Jeremy Kennedy and Yasuke Kasuya. So I don't expect Volkanovski to get a finish in this fight, especially with how durable Max Holloway is. Looking at the women's flyweight division on the main card, we've got an interesting fight between Amanda Ribas and Paige Van Zandt. Of course, Van Zandt is on the last fight of her UFC contract, and the UFC doing no favors, giving her a very interesting prospect in Amanda Ribas in this fight. But I know the guys on the podcast this week, they really like Ribas inside the distance. I'm actually going the other way on this one. I think Ribas ends up winning a decision in this fight for a couple of reasons. First off, Ribas only has 1 stoppage win in the UFC. That was against Emily Whitmire, who's someone that has had mental lapses in fights, and that's pretty much what happened in that. She made a mistake. Ribas capitalized, took advantage here. I don't think Van Zandt's going to fall in that category here. The second thing is the fact that this is at flyweight, I think actually helps out Van Zandt. I think she was cutting a lot of weight to get to strawweight, and those 2 stoppage losses she had in the UFC, or has in the UFC, were at strawweight. So I think the weight cut played a role in that as well. I think she'll look a lot better at flyweight. I did an interview earlier this week with Austin Vanderford, her husband, who just talks about how much stronger Paige is at flyweight, and she's had a lot of time off. Yes, she's had a layoff, she's had the injury, but I think in general, Paige will look a lot stronger in this fight, and I just don't see Ribas being able to capitalize for a finish here. I'm picking Ribas to win, but I just don't think she'll finish Paige Van Zandt in this fight. So give me Ribas by decision, which is at plus 110 right now. I think that's a pretty good bet with this only being a 3-round fight. I think Ribas more likely than not gets her hand raised, but I don't think it'll be by stoppage. And looking on the undercard, we've got a really exciting fight in the light heavyweight division. Volkan Oezdemir taking on Yuri Prochazka. Prochazka coming over from Ryzen, making his debut here. So there's a lot of things to look at with this. First off, Prochazka obviously might have some UFC jitters in this one. You know, everyone is different when it comes to entering the octagon. I think that could be the case here, although he's fought some, notable opponents in Ryzen prior to joining the UFC. But Ozdemir's a finisher. We've seen this in a couple of fights. You know, the fight against Iri Latifi. He's had a lot of opportunities and finish guys that usually aren't getting finished that often. Misha Serganov's another one that comes to mind where Oezdemir was able to capitalize and get the stoppage victory in here. But here's why I think he's going to get the finish as well, is the fact that if you look at the last 8 fights for Yuri Prochazka, 7 of those were first round finishes. So this is a guy that is not used to going the distance. So I think he's going to try the same thing here, try and take Volkan Ozdemir's head off in the first round. We know that Ozdemir's a tough guy to finish. Daniel Cormier couldn't finish him until the second round. So I don't see a situation where Prochazka is going to go out there and knock out Oezdemir in the first round, which I think will lead to him getting tired. And I think Oezdemir will be able to capitalize. His striking's getting better every fight. I think he'll get a TKO finish in the second or third round, just due to fatigue to Prochazka as well. I also think the level of competition is not even close. Ozdemir's fought the who's who in the light heavyweight division in the UFC, including the champion or the former champion of Daniel Cormier. He's fought, everyone in terms of, tough names in that division outside of John Jones, whereas Prochazka has fought a lot of UFC veterans, guys that are on the downside of their career, and that's why he's getting the quick finishes in the first round. So I think more likely than not, Oezdemir gets the TKO win in this fight, and at plus 145, I do see some value there as far as Oezdemir finishing this fight on the prelims. So there are my prop bets for this event. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Would love to hear from you. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Lynch on Sports. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you next week.